What's going on, my fellow A-plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode. It is I, your host with the most, Adam Perez, back once again, ladies and gentlemen. Black Lightning's back as we're about to get into episode number 2 of season 4 of Black Lightning. Coming to you rather late this week, guys, rather late. So first and foremost, let me go ahead and apologize. I don't know if you guys follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, but I did go ahead and put an update up there for you guys earlier this week to let you know that I would not be getting to any of my reviews this week because unfortunately I do live out in the Dallas, Texas area, and if you've been paying attention to any of the news this week, we got hit with a huge winter storm, a winter blast that literally took out just a ton of power. I mean, we had a huge power outage. Millions of people were certainly out. I think I lost my power from like early Monday morning, like 2-3 o'clock in the morning on Monday, all the way until like late night Wednesday. I had absolutely no power, no heat whatsoever. My water at this point in time is still not on. It's still not working. So I'm kind of hoping, since it is warming up a little bit, that maybe hopefully by tomorrow or Sunday, the water certainly will be back up. But power just kicked back in. I want to say late Wednesday night, that transition into Thursday. I got back to my apartment Thursday afternoon because I did go ahead and stay out with stay at the girlfriend's house out in Fort Worth. So did our best to certainly try to stay warm out there also. But Texas definitely is not prepared when it comes to winter weather. And even though the fact that I knew that the storm was coming like at least 5 days in advance, it shouldn't shock me to know that Texas did not prepare at all, unfortunately. So, yeah, guys, that's the reason why I was not able to go ahead and bring you a Black Lightning review earlier. But it's here. It's here, guys. We're certainly here. So we're going to go ahead and break it all down for you guys. So do not worry. Starting back up next weekend, we certainly will be back and on time with our Black Lightning reviews for you guys. So definitely go ahead and continue to look out for those. But let's go ahead and just dive into this particular week's episode here. One that, if I could be honest with you guys, I felt a little bit all over the place in regards to a lot of the editing choices, the back and forth, some of the little jumps in time, if you will. So I wasn't quite sure how I felt about this particular week's episode. I am kind of hoping that as we get into this season, it starts to get a little bit more focused on certain individuals as the season progresses, instead of just kind of trying to cover everybody within one full entire episode, because it did feel like it was kind of going back and forth just a little bit here. But a couple of people that I definitely want to go ahead and talk about this week, definitely Jefferson and Tobias for sure. We continue to see Jefferson still working on his grief, still not handling it very well at all, clearly still going towards his therapy sessions and things like that. We do get to see him actually bumping into Tobias in here, who for the most part is really letting his presence be felt. We get to see that he clearly has a brand new serum that he's injecting inside of himself, one that's not only making him stronger, but clearly sort of allowing him to have the ability to fend off some of Black Lightning's abilities in regards to his lightning. So I mean, the guy literally just kind of brushes it off like it's no thing. So Tobias is definitely making progress. Whatever he wind up doing when he was out in Markovia before actually getting back here has really done him wonders, because homeboy is out here trying to purchase land from Freeland and things like that, just to listen, Tobias always has an additional plan up his sleeves. Am I right? So you clearly know he's going to be doing something with that property that he wind up actually purchasing earlier on in this episode. And we'll see how it winds up coming together for him. But I will say, quick honorable mention goes out to Tobias's right-hand man. There's a part of me that when I look at him, I think of, was it Victor Zsasz from like Gotham and things like that? Usually like somebody's right-hand man over in the Bat family, if you will. So I feel like his guy next to him almost reminded me of Victor Zsasz for a second there, even though I'm pretty sure that's definitely not him. So Tobias is coming a long way for sure. He's trying to make a really good impression on that of Freeland after all this time, and I love the fact that he literally approaches Jefferson as he winds up sort of leaving school to kind of confront him in here. I thought for a second we might actually have ourselves a little bit of a throwdown, but it really is sort of a fair warning from Tobias to Jefferson. Really seeing Jefferson again continuing to struggle with the idea that he's no longer Black Lightning, clearly wants to help people, but doesn't necessarily want to, as Black Lightning's not even rocking the suit at all whatsoever. And we clearly see the idea of his abilities now starting to affect him. We saw him use it in last week's episode when he wind up frying not only the police officers, but also the gang member at the end of the episode. We see him using his abilities here again, just this time definitely taking a toll on Jefferson, as we see Lynn finding him on the floor the very next morning, having to wake him up because he winds up passing out there. And then, of course, getting the opportunity to see Jefferson drunk, mind you, or at least I'm assuming maybe slightly inebriated, right? Trying to find out who actually killed the son of one of his good friends and fellow teachers over at Freeland, as I believe his friend's son is the one that winds up getting shot in the middle of this gang war that we clearly see is kind of breaking out in Freeland. So it seems as though Jefferson wants to be able to certainly still help whenever he can, but the idea that we literally see Jefferson kind of sitting with his thoughts, checking his phone for alerts, drinking on the job. I love the fact that he reached out to TC. I was wondering when they were going to go ahead and actually start highlighting some of the kids that they introduced us to in season 3. And even though we didn't see TC, we definitely knew that he clearly saw that he wind up calling him up to ask him for the address of the young man that wind up shooting the son of his best friend. And we get to see exactly what Jefferson winds up doing towards the end of this episode. Again, really allowing his grief and just this rabbit hole of depression that he's kind of put himself in, not really sure how to handle himself, going into battle, not only inebriated, but clearly out here to do damage to some people. I mean, he literally burned the guy's eyeballs out that he encountered last week. This time he's breaking somebody's leg, wanting them to go into the police department and kind of confess as to what's certainly going on. So when it comes to Jefferson, man, he's really kind of walking that fine line. And I'm glad that he has at least somebody in his life like a Gabi that's trying to help him get back on that right track, even though it feels, I don't want to say a little bit cliche, but it is one of those things that I'm sure Jefferson has heard countless times from Gabi, right? And it still just hasn't connected with him in regards for Jefferson to take it upon himself to actually make those good changes in his life, if you will. But I'm glad that he at least have somebody like Gabi that's just gonna shoot the shit straight with him and just be completely honest with him into some of the decisions that he's been making as of late. And not only that, but again, him going to therapy. I love the line of the therapy letting him know that it's okay to have your own personal feelings or thoughts towards certain things. So I am glad that he is continuing to at least go get help. And I have even heard in a couple of interviews from the executive producer and showrunner Salim Akil that this season he definitely wants to focus on the idea of mental health, right? And being able to go to therapy and learning about yourself, something that he feels is a really big issue when it comes to perhaps the Black and brown community. The idea that sometimes I feel like we can be a little bit too prideful in the idea of thinking that we don't need therapy, right? Or having this idea of having to represent ourselves as like this tough person in a sense, or being able to be capable of handling anything by yourself, right? It's almost like therapy has kind of become a stigma. So I love the fact that this negative stigma, I should say. So I love the fact that Salim Akil is trying to showcase a Black family going to therapy, understanding the importance that it certainly could have in the community and things like that, and really getting the opportunity to showcase it first and foremost and at the forefront of this particular show. So hopefully it continues to do wonders for Jefferson Pierce, but we'll definitely see what we wind up getting as the series winds up progressing. Let's see here. I love the fact that this episode does kind of start off, though, with us seeing Chief, or is it Captain, or is it Detective Lopez? I can't remember what. I can't remember what her tag is, but I think it's Chief Lopez. I can't remember. Regardless of the fact, she's ready to go ahead and start putting down the hammer, whether that be towards the metahumans, whether that be towards the 100 gang and the Cobra gang, or whatever their name was. Clearly we've got what I think she said was the Cobra gang. that's run by Lady Eve, and then you've got the 100 gang that's still run by Lala. This episode, for the most part, really continued to show just the gang war and the gang violence that certainly has taken place, which is a little bit crazy considering the fact that we literally just had a Markovian war here. You would have thought people might have united around Freeland a little bit more to protect itself and to protect each other, but it's they literally have just started another war inside of their hometown yet again. So we get the opportunity to see that really pushed at the forefront in here with Destiny, I believe her name is, along with Lala. A couple of gunfights happened in this episode, right? Get the opportunity to see Jennifer coming through to go ahead and stop one of the shootings that wind up happening on the streets. Clearly wasn't able to stop that one kid from being shot, Jefferson's friend's son, unfortunately. But that definitely seems to be a big pivotal part of this season. And we even get the opportunity to see Anissa kind of even addressing it as Blackbird with these gang members. The idea that certain parts of Freeland just are really off limits. You know what I mean? Like, she's clearly not stopping them from doing everything that they're certainly doing, but clearly trying to at least, at least allow them to be able to use their community in some form or another. But I do love the fact that Blackbird is at least trying to lay down the law a little bit and kind of keep some things in line as best as she possibly can. So I thought that was pretty neat. And honestly, when it comes to Anissa, I enjoyed her storyline here this week. Even though the fact that she clearly wanted to spend some time with Grace, was unable to. I'm assuming the idea of her being in a coma has really allowed her abilities to kind of fluctuate in and out from time to time. And this time she's clearly like a leopard or something like that. So she's like, you know what, I'm not even going to bother hanging around here this time around. But she does wind up meeting herself a brand new friend here in Darius, who now works at the doctor's office, or the lab, I should say, that Anissa along with Lynn now certainly work at. I thought it was pretty funny that he tries to kind of, talk to her a little bit, get to know her a little bit, but Anissa quickly kind of shuts that down. But for me, at least, I did like, once that was kind of an understanding between those two, I mean, I kind of dig the idea that we have ourselves a new supporting character, one that clearly loves what he does as far as being a doctor, clearly wants to be more impactful, especially after seeing that they wind up sort of losing this victim in one of the shootings here in this episode. So I'm kind of hoping that this bond between Anissa and Darius really continues to stay strictly platonic. I really don't need any sort of relationship drama with Anissa as of right now, especially with her girl in a coma currently. Because I'm trying to think if Anissa's always been gay, or if I remember her being like at least lesbian, flirting with guys. I can't recall now that I come to think about it, even in season 1. So yeah, I guess Anissa definitely is just full on gay. So for me, yeah, I'm really hoping that they keep it strictly platonic, and this guy definitely gets the message. Because, listen, the fact that he's brand new to the area, needs some friends, why not? Why not find you a friend in a superhero like Blackbird, to say the least? On the other hand of things, when it comes to Jennifer, she's the one that's really kind of shrouded with mystery. This idea of her having this ability has kind of made her neglect the rest of her life in certain ways, right? I mean, clearly she's still going to school, but she almost clearly has no future for herself, or isn't kind of thinking that far ahead. We see her mom kind of busting her butt a little bit about, hey, have you done your SATs? Have you, signed up for your tests or anything like that? And Jennifer just certainly has not. It seems as though she just kind of wants to put it off. I know she complains about the idea that, Mom, we just had the Markovian War and all this stuff is going on. I'm thinking to myself, wasn't that a whole year ago, right? Like, aren't you pushing a whole entire year? Like, I feel like after a year, you can't really use that as an excuse, anymore, right? So I am wondering what her abilities are certainly doing to her. Are they affecting her mind? Is it because of the fact that she's so powerful that she just feels she doesn't need to do anything else in life besides just being a superhero and doing the right thing, right? Like, maybe that's what she feels her personal calling definitely is. I mean, we even see that she has superhuman abilities in regards to healing. The idea of being able to collect all that energy from the atmosphere and heal yourself immediately after a battle, that's pretty telling also. So I'm really fascinated to see see the mystery behind Jennifer's powers, and hopefully it winds up getting explored a little bit more as the season progresses. But I am a little bit worried about Jennifer. I honestly can't lie. I do love the fact also that these two ladies, the two sisters, had a sit-down talk with Lynn. The fact that it's now kind of been brought to Jefferson's attention that she is finding herself out in the battlefield a little bit now, clearly almost getting killed this time around, getting injured this time around. And so I love the fact that the sisters actually came up to her and told her, you're going to have to slow down a little bit. The idea of giving yourself abilities and going out there and trying to help people out is just not in your forte, right? Like, Jefferson at least trained us, our dad at least trained us to be vigilantes and to be out on the street. The idea of you just injecting yourself with metahumans doesn't automatically sort of make you a hero or capable of going out there and doing what it is that we certainly do, right? And clearly Lynn learned that from first in this experience here alone, but clearly she takes it the wrong way, right? Like, there is an element of Lynn that's clearly not just going out there to do it because I need to give my daughter's backup, right? Like, that's the excuse that she's certainly using. And that's why Jefferson yells at her like, oh, so you're using me as an excuse to kind of go out there and help our daughters because you don't think I've got their back in a sense. But make no mistake, this definitely is Lynn still very much addicted to the idea of green light or whatever they're calling it. And her tapping into these metahuman abilities is just another form of that addiction, clearly not having faced the idea of sobriety seriously, just kind of head on. So Lynn continues to kind of fall down that rabbit hole, but we'll see where it takes her, if it'll be the death of her or if she'll eventually come to Jesus and have that moment and realize what she's doing and really kind of certainly try and get herself some help. I mean, the fact that we see Lynn and Jefferson both going to counseling, and even though they are going to counseling, them in their own sort of separate lives, not really doing what they need to do, but still continuing to feed their depression or their addiction is just really telling to me. So I've really enjoyed the journey that we've seen so far. But the person that honestly stood out to me in this episode had to be Gabi. There's very much sort of like a 007 there's very much a 007 vibe that I get from Gabi this season. The fact that he's literally on missions by himself, trying to figure out, being a detective, if you will. I mean, Homeboy's literally not even there for Lynn and Jennifer, which is one of the reasons why we got that confrontation between Gabi and Jefferson in the first place, the idea of not being out there. But Gabi clearly has other plans. The fact that we have seen that the new chief and Chief Lopez has now ordered metahuman weapons. I think they refer to them as DEGs, direct energy guns or something like that, DEGs, now sort of on the market, if you will. He comes to find out that the people producing those metahuman weapons that are going to be going to Freeland police are in fact Monte Vista, which is in fact the same corporation that the lady that was sort of flirting with Gabi in last week's episode, trying to recruit him, is actually from in Monte Vista. So I thought it was pretty cool to kind of see the connections that were being made there. And as much of a big fan as I am of Gabi having a little bit of a love life there, there definitely seems to be going on when it comes to Monte Vista behind the scenes. The fact that they are really the people that are sending out these particular metahuman weapons, not only to Freeland, but clearly internationally and all across the world. So it seems as though they're all kind of being armed to face off against future metahumans, and that definitely spells trouble for Jefferson Pierce and his family, to say the least. So I love the fact that Gabi is kind of going a little bit undercover to kind of get things solved. Like, I do feel bad that he's kind of going undercover and playing up the role that he's interested in this woman. A part of me wonders if he is fully interested or if he's just trying to get interested so he can kind of get in on the inside. Like, I do feel like there's some interest there. I mean, she's a gorgeous woman. I don't know who wouldn't be pleased with the idea of her wanting to pursue something with you. Clearly they've had a past, especially that was highlighted in this episode here. But I love the fact that Gabi does approach her at the end saying, listen, I don't really want to do all this cold covert stuff and be in the dark and behind the scenes and things like that, right? Like my value can be used in other ways. And so I love the fact that he certainly wants to work with her, but definitely is kind of using their connection and the relationship to even get her trust even further. Because I'm pretty sure Gabi's end goal is to get in the company so that he can then continue to track where these weapons are coming from and things like that and how they're being distributed. So Gabi definitely has a plan. I'm just hoping that plan isn't at the expense of this lady's feelings, and that if it is, that maybe you at least have feelings for her too and are hoping that eventually she turns the corner along with you, right, and starts coming on board with whatever your particular plan is, Gabi. But I really enjoyed the fact that they gave him as much time as they did in here, whether it be infiltrating Monte Vista or having dinner with this beautiful woman, which I gotta read the episode description to figure out exactly what her name was, because I continue to forget it or miss it each and every episode. But we'll definitely see what happens, guys. But for the most part, this episode felt a little bit all over the place. I wouldn't mind if there was a little bit more focus on maybe like 2 of the characters, maybe 3 of the characters, and then maybe some other people are kind of sprinkled in a little bit. So I felt like we got a little bit too much in this episode in regards to it being a little bit all over the place, but solid episode regardless, guys. Solid episode regardless, and I'm definitely looking forward towards next week. Honestly, for me, the way that the episode ended also kind of felt a little bit abrupt, and that's why I felt like maybe that's why I felt like this episode just didn't hit me the way that I wanted it to, because I almost felt like it was an open-ended ending, not really too much actually resolved or figured out, if you will, almost just like another connecting piece or moving forward piece, but nothing for me to really kind of sink my teeth into the way that I really would have liked to. So I think really just the way that it ended really just kind of really threw me off at the end. But listen, guys, these are just my A+ opinions. I always want to know yours. So please let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below after this particular video airs. And listen, guys, if you continue to look for a new home for your Black Lightning reviews, this is your place, man. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. And of course, if you love our content, give us that big like, hit that big thumbs up. It certainly goes a long way, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so right here at A+ Opinions. Very active over on social media. All our links are in the description box below if you certainly would like to go ahead and follow us. So until next time, guys, that'll do it for me here. We will, in fact, be back on time next week with episode number 3 of season 4 for Black Lightning. So certainly stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. But until next time, do me a big favor. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And as always, keep it A+.